Tumigil po yung report last Saturday sa Section 8, and then nabanggit na rin po yung transition from 1973 to 1987 Constitution. Bale, ang i-report ko naman po is under Section 9 to 13, which discusses the privileges of senators in terms of salary and yung parliamentary immunities nila. So under Section 9, in case of vacancy in the Senate or in the House of Representatives, a special election may be called to fill such vacancy in the manner prescribed by law. But the senator or member of the House of the Representatives thus elected shall serve only for the unexpired term. So sa Constitution po natin, wala pa akong nahanap na nagkaroon na ng special election para mapunan yung vacancy sa Senate or sa Congress or sa House of Representatives. And then yung common reason kung bakit magkakaroon ng special election is if namatay or nagbitiw sa tungkulin yung isang member ng Senate or House of Representatives. And then, if ever magkaroon ng special election, yung mananalo is yung term niya hanggang matapos lang yung term ng member na pinalitan niya. So under the Section 10 naman, it states there that the salaries of senators and members of the House of Representatives shall be determined by law. No increase in said compensation shall take effect until the expiration of the full term of all the members of the Senate and the House of Representatives approving such increase. So for example, ngayon, nasa 19th Congress na tayo. So kung yung salary grade nila, for example, nag-range ng salary grade 33 to salary grade 34, that is about around 273,000 to 312,000. Walang increase until matapos yung term or yung full term sa Congress. And then under Section 11, a senator or member of House of the Representatives shall in all offenses punishable by not more than 6 years imprisonment be privileged from arrest while the Congress is in session. No member shall be questioned nor be held liable in any other place for any speech or debate in the Congress or in any committee thereof. So under Section 11, may pribilehiyo yung mga Senate at House of Representatives na hindi arestuhin kung yung kanilang paglabag o yung offense nila is not more than 6 years yung parusa. Like for example, ongoing yung session sa Congress at andun sila or umattend sila, bawal silang hulihin ng otoridad. Nakalagay dito na this privilege is intended to ensure representation of constituent by the member of the Congress. So yung privilege na to is walang intention para protektahan yung members ng Congress sa kanilang for their own benefit, but to support the rights of the people by enabling their representatives to execute the function of their office without fear of prosecution, civil or criminal. And then next is under the Section 12, all members of the Senate and the House of Representatives shall, upon assumption of office, make a full disclosure of their financial and business interests. They shall notify the House of concern of potential conflict of interest that may arise from filing of or proposed legislation of which they are authors. So, para maiwasan yung sila yung nagbe-benefit dun sa pinopropose nilang law or batas, kailangan magkaroon ng full disclosure sa kanilang asset or if they have any business interest. Medyo connected yung Section 12 and Section 13 because aside from disclosing all of their business interests or their mitatawag na SALN, yung Statement of Asset, Liabilities, and Net Worth. Sa Section 13 naman, binabanggit dito na no senator or member of the House of Representatives may hold any other office or employment in the government or any subdivision, agency, or instrumentality thereof. So, bawal silang magkaroon ng, hindi sila maaring humawak sa panahon ng kanilang panunungkulan ng anumang ibang katungkulan, especially sa government o sa iba pang bahaging sa iba pang sangay ng gobyerno.
Meaning,
Yes.
So
Yes
meaning,
po.
if you are a lawyer or a doctor or an engineer or a whatever your profession is, you cannot practice it. Okay, so you can practice your legal profession if you are a lawyer, defending litigants in any courts or quasi-judicial bodies. That is the explanation. So kung ano yung profession mo, kung ikaw naman ay doktor, no, hindi ka rin pwedeng mag-practice sa mga ospital. Continue.
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, sorry, just to ask po and to clarify, yung gantong ano po ba, rules for Section 13, it only applies dun sa Senator and House of Representative in the national level, or miski sa local, it also applies?
Yeah, even in the local level, it applies.
Oh, okay po. Alright. So, we will continue for Section 14.
Okay, you proceed.
Hello, rinig po ako.
Yes po.
So, ako po si Jessa Jean Oteiza, and ako naman po yung magde-discuss ng simula Section 14 hanggang 18, and it talks about yung other functions of the Congress. So sa Section 14 po, it says that no senator or member of the House of Representatives may personally appear as counsel before any court of justice or before the electoral tribunals or quasi-judicial and other administrative bodies. Neither shall he, directly or indirectly, be interested financially in any contract with or in any franchise or special privilege granted by the government or any subdivision, agency, or instrumentality thereof, including any government-owned or controlled corporation or its subsidiary during his term of office. He shall not intervene in any matter before any office of the government before his pecuniary benefit where he may be called upon to act on account of his office. So, sa Section 14 po, it says na no senator or yung member of the House ang pwedeng mag-intervene or pwedeng makialam in any electoral tribunals. Hindi sila mag-appear as counsel, kung trip man nila or hindi sila pwedeng parang kunin as na counsel, or kung hinihingan man sila ng tulong, hindi sila pwedeng makialam in any, sabi dito, in any quasi-judicial or administrative bodies. So next po. So sa Section 15 naman, it says that the Congress shall convene once every year on the fourth Monday of July for its regular session unless its different date is fixed by law, and shall continue to be in session for such number of days as it may determine until 30 days before the opening of its regular session, exclusive of Saturdays, Sundays, and the legal holidays. The President may call a special session at any time. So sa part na ito, yung Congress ay required magkaroon ng mag-convene ng regular session once every year on the fourth Monday of July, proceeding na nagkakaroon na as a start for a regular session. So sa Section 16 naman, it says the Senate shall elect its president and the House of Representatives its speaker by a majority vote of all its respective members. Each house shall choose such other officers as it may deem necessary. Sa paragraph 2 naman, a majority of each house shall constitute a quorum to do business, but a smaller number may adjourn from day to day and may compel the attendance of absent members in such manner and under such penalties and as such house may provide. Sa paragraph 3 naman, each house may determine the rules of its proceedings, punish its members for disorderly behavior, and with the concurrence of 2/3 of all its members suspend or expel a member. Penalty of suspension when imposed shall not exceed 60 days. So sa paragraph 3, it talks about yung sakop ng powers ng nasa Senate na may kakayahan silang gumawa ng proceedings nila accordingly, na sinabi dito to punish their members for disorderly behavior with the concurrence of two-thirds ng all members na mag-suspend or mag-expel ng another member. So may kakayahan din sila na magpataw ng penalty of suspension and kapag inimpose sila ay hindi siya mag-exceed ng 60 days. Sa paragraph 4 naman,
May I intervene? So
yes sir,
paragraph 3 talks about the adoption of the internal rules
yes sir.
the Congress and of the Senate or any legislative bodies for that matter. No, it is important that the
Yes,
rules are adopted and set by all the members. Meaning, kung kailan yung sila magse-session, no, anong oras, anong suot nila, ano ang pwedeng ipataw dun sa pala-absent. Because you remember that in any legislative proceedings, the legislature being a collegial body cannot transact business without a quorum because that will be questionable or the proceedings may be susceptible to a court litigation. That is why there are stenographers. Minutes of the meeting are all recorded so that any issues on the legality or interpretation of a law may be challenged, and those will be the evidence. No, that is why in every meetings, stenographers or secretariat of the legislature or any legislative body are all required also to record all the proceedings. No, so meron yang minutes, pinipirmahan nila yan. No, na totoo ang mga nakasaad at nilalaman doon sa minutes of the meeting. Okay? So, you proceed.
So yun nga po, katulad po nun yung sinabi nyo, it goes the same sa paragraph 4 na nagsasabi, each house shall keep journal of its proceedings and from time to time publish the same, excepting such parts as may in its judgment affect national security, and the yes and nays on any question shall at the request of 1/5 of the members present be entered in the journal. So katulad po ng sinabi ni Sir, lahat ng proceedings, lahat ng sessions ongoing sa Senate must be kept in a journal and must be published from time to time. So sa paragraph 5, sinabi naman na neither house during the sessions of the Congress shall, without the consent of the other, adjourn for more than 3 days, nor to any other than that in which two houses shall be sitting. So in a regular session, without the consent ng ibang members, ay hindi sila pwedeng mag-adjourn ng yung current na session na ongoing nila. So next po. Sa section 17 naman, it tackles that the Senate and the House of Representatives shall each have an electoral tribunal which shall be the sole judge of all contests relating to the election, returns, and qualifications of their respective members. Each electoral tribunal shall be composed of 9 members, 3 of whom shall be the justices of the Supreme Court to be designated by the Chief Justice, and the remaining 6 shall be the members of the Senate or of the House of the Representatives, as the case may be, who shall be chosen on the basis of proportional representation from the political parties and the parties of organizations registered under the party list system represented therein. The senior justice in the electoral tribunal shall be its chairman. So, it talks po yung yung sa electoral tribunal na dapat nilang gawin, dapat na magkaroon sila. It consists of the 9 members, sinasabi rito, na yung 3 ay manggagaling sa justices ng Supreme Court at yung 6 ay manggagaling sa members and 4 of the Senate of the House. So, and ang sinabi din dito, yung magiging chairman sa mabubuong electoral tribunal ay yung pinaka-senior justice among doon sa 9 members. So, sa Section 18 naman, it says that there shall be a commission on appointments consisting of the President of the Senate as ex officio chairman, 12 senators, and the 12 members of the House, elected by each House on the basis of proportional representation from the political parties and parties or organizations registered under the party list system represented therein. The chairman of commission shall not vote except in a case of tie. The commission shall act on all appointments submitted to within 30 session days of the Congress from their submission. The commission shall rule by a majority vote of the members. So sinabi dito sa Section 18 that under the Congress na magkakaroon sila, there should be na commission of appointments na binubuo ng President ng Senate, 12 senators, and 12 members of the House. Na mag-elect sila each House for the representation of political parties yung na under ng Congress. And sinabi rin dito, yung condition ng commission is yung chairman ay hindi siya pwedeng mag-vote unless lumabas na tayong mga results. That the commission then, yung role ng commission na ito ay yung rule pala ng majority, yung rule ng commission na ito shall be determined by the majority vote of all the members. So next po.
Good afternoon po, Sir. Lito Jose Cabradilla po. Ako naman po yung magdi-discuss po sa Section 19 to Section 24 po. As a continuation po dun sa Section 17 and 18 po. Sa Section 19 po, the electoral tribunals and the Commission on Appointments shall be constituted within 30 days after the Senate and the House of Representatives shall have been organized with the election of the President and the Speaker. The Commission on Appointment shall meet only while the Congress is in session at the call of its chairman or a majority of all of its members to discharge such powers and functions as are herein conferred upon it. Meaning po, upon po ng election ng Senate President and Speaker of the House of Representatives ay kinakailangan na mabuo agad yung electoral tribunals at commission on appointment within 30 days po. And as a background po, as mentioned po dun sa Section 17 kanina, ang electoral tribunal po ang sole judge sa lahat ng contest relating to the election returns and qualification of their respective members po. Tapos, the commission on appointment naman po ay yung responsible para mag-confirm po or mag-reject ng certain political appointment made by the President of the Philippines. Hello, parinig po ba ako?
Yes.
Thank you po. Sa Section 20 naman po, the records and books of accounts of the Congress shall be preserved and be open to the public in accordance with law, and such books shall be audited by the Commission on Audit, which shall publish annually an itemized list of amounts paid to and expenses incurred for each member. As for Section 20, diniscuss naman po dito yung transparency of the legislative branch wherein all of its records, books, and transaction ay kailangan ma-preserve and keep to make it available po for public use and public viewing, and also as a compliance din po sa requirement or records na needed for the audit of the Commission on Audit na annually pong gumagawa ng itemized report sa lahat ng naging transaction and expenses ng bawat members. Di lang po ng Congress pero buong gobyerno at mga related tributaries and agencies po nito. Sa proceeding naman po sa Section 21, the Senate or the House of Representatives or any of its respective committees may conduct inquiries in aid of legislation in accordance with its duly published rules of procedure. The rights of persons appearing in or affected by such inquiries shall be respected, meaning na the House of Representatives, the Senate, and its committees have the right to conduct po an investigation or an inquiry that will aid them in gathering information with regards naman po sa legislative procedure that will help them in determining po for the need for an improvement, enactment, revision, or creation of a new law po. Tapos their investigative power po is also limited to acts only as an aid to legislation, and during po the inquiry ay kinakailangan pa rin po na irespeto ang constitutional rights po nung pinadalo sa investigation, especially po his rights against self-incrimination and right to counsel po. Section 22 naman po. The heads of department may, upon their own initiative, with the consent of the President or upon the request of either house, as the rules of each house shall provide, appear before and be heard by such house on any matter pertaining to their departments. Written questions shall be submitted to the President of the Senate or the Speaker of the House of Representatives at least 3 days before their scheduled appearance. Interpellation shall not be limited to written questions but may cover matters related thereto. When the security of the state or the public interest so requires and the President so states in writing, the appearance shall be conducted in executive session. Meaning po, the department heads po can appear before the houses of Congress to discuss concerns about their departments po. They can either appear on their own initiative, where he is required po to ask consent from the President first and notify the House of Speaker to set the date and time for his appearance. And need din po niya mag-submit ng written question na kailangan ma-discuss sa Senate President or the Speaker of the House of Representatives at least 3 days prior to his appearance po. He can also appear through the request by the House, kung saan po dun sa request ng House kinakailangan pong maisama na dun yung schedule, which mostly happen at least 3 days po upon receipt of request, and written question ay pareho pong kailangan mailagay na dun, may state na dun sa request. And in cases naman po concerning security of the state and the public interest requires, then it shall move to an executive session naman po. Section 23, the Congress by a vote of 2/3 of both houses in joint session assembled voting separately shall have the sole power to declare the existence of a state of war. It is clearly stated po dito sa section na only through the power of the Congress that the Philippines can declare a state of war, at mamamanifest lamang po ang effectivity at declaration ng war if nakakuha po ito ng at least 2/3 of the total votes from both houses, which is counted separately po even in a joint session. Tapos in second paragraph naman po, in times of war or other national emergencies, the Congress may by law authorize the President for a limited period and subject to such restriction as it may prescribe to exercise powers necessary and proper to carry out a declared national policy. Unless sooner withdrawn by resolution of the Congress, such powers shall cease upon the next adjournment thereof. And in the case of a national emergency naman po, including war, it is also through the power of the Congress na magbigay din po ng authorization sa current President to exercise necessary actions or power na to carry out a declared national policy. And together with this power of authorization to the President po ay mga limitation and restriction na sinet din ng Congress sa mismong authorization to prevent po yung possibility of abuse of power. Tapos yung authorization po na to ay also given a specific period of time po para ma-utilize, and the Congress also have the power po to withdraw its authorization anytime through a resolution. Tapos, proceeding to Section 24 naman po. All appropriation, revenue or tariff bills, bills authorizing increase of the public debt, bills of local application, and private bills shall originate exclusively in the House of Representatives. But the Senate may propose or concur with amendments. Meaning po, all of the appropriation in the mentioned type of bills po that generally involves public funds, national budget, and debts are all exclusively under or shall originate from the House of Representatives. Pero hindi po nito nililimit yung Senate na mag-propose or mag-concur sa possible amendment ng said type of bills po. And for the general rules of appropriation ay itutuloy naman po ito sa Section 25 po na i-discuss po nung isa po namin ka-groupmate po.
Hi, good afternoon po. Rinig po ako.
Yes.
Ay po, dako na po tayo sa Section 25. The Congress may not increase the appropriations recommended by the President for the operation of the government as specified in the budget. The form, content, and manner of preparation of the budget shall be prescribed by law. Dito na papasok yung tinanong ni Sir na last time na tinanong ni Sir na pwede bang dagdagan ng Congress yung budget na ibinigay ng President. Ayon kasi dito sa Article 7, Section 22, the President shall submit to the Congress within 30 days from the opening of every regular session as the basis of the General Appropriations Bill, a budget of expenditures and sources of financing, including receipts from existing and proposed revenue measures. So hindi siya pwedeng dagdagan ng Congress. Sa pangalawang paragraph naman, no provision or enactment shall be embraced in the General Appropriations Bill unless it relates specifically to some particular appropriation. Therein, any such provision or enactment shall be limited in its operation to the appropriation to which it relates. Dito ay pinagbabawal ang pagdagdag ng rider. Mamaya explain ko kung ano bang ibig sabihin nito. Yung ibig sabihin ng rider. So, continue tayo, pinagbabawal ang pagdagdag ng rider sa mga panukalang batas ayon sa unang bahagi sa ilalim ng Section 26 ng Article 6. Mamaya, babanggitin ko rin to. So, ano nga ba yung rider na sinabi ko kanina? Ito ay provision or enactment inserted into the general appropriations na hindi related sa iba pang appropriations sa loob nito. Sa paragraph 3 naman, the procedure in improving appropriations for the Congress shall strictly follow the procedure for approving appropriations for other departments and agencies. Sa kadahilan ng nagbibigay ito ng pananggalang laban sa pang-aabuso o maling paggamit ng Kongreso sa kapangyarihan nitong mag-appropriate. Sa paragraph 4 naman, a special appropriations bill shall specify the purpose for which it is intended and shall be supported by funds actually available as certified by the National Treasurer or to be raised by a corresponding revenue proposed therein. Bukod pa rito, hinihiling ng Constitution na ang antas ng expenditures ay dapat nasa antas din ng revenues. Sa paragraph 5 naman, no law shall be passed authorizing any transfer of appropriations. So dito, paiklin ko na lang, walang batas ang nagpapahintulot sa paglilipat ng appropriations maliban na lamang kung ang gagawa nito ay ang Senate President, Speaker of the House Representatives, Chief Justice at heads ng Constitutional Commissions. Ang mga nabanggit ay may karapatan na maaring magdagdag ng any item in the General Appropriations Law for their respective offices. Sa paragraph 6 naman, discretionary funds appropriated for particular officials shall be disbursed only for public purposes to be supported by appropriate vouchers and subject to such guidelines as may be prescribed by law. Bukod pa rito, pinapayagan lamang ang appropriation sa discretionary funds kapag hindi posible matukoy na maaga kung kailan gawin ang expenditures mga saktong halaga na kailangan at ang particular na paggamit nito. Sa pang-7 naman, if by the end of any fiscal year, the Congress shall have failed to pass the General Appropriations Bill for the ensuing fiscal year, the General Appropriations Law for the preceding fiscal year shall be deemed reenacted and shall remain in the force and effect until the General Appropriations Bill is passed by the Congress. What do we mean by fiscal year? Ang fiscal year is period that begins on the 31st day of January. Tapos nagtatapos siya sa sa 31st of December of each calendar year. Dadako naman tayo sa section 26, sa unang paragraph.
Erwin,
Yes po.
meaning kung ang budget ng City of Manila for for fiscal year 2022 ay 20 billion. kapag ka hindi na ipasa yung city budget for 2023, halimbawa, ang proposal ng mayor ay gawing 25 billion siya for 2023. Hindi na ipasa yung 2023 na nire-request na 25 billion. So magkano ang magiging budget at City of Manila for 2023?
Ano, sir? Kung ano po yung kailangan po kasi tawag doon.
Maipasa.
Yes po, maipasa. Tapos
Hindi na naipasa.
shall be reviewed. Wait lang.
Di ba yan ang provision sinasabi? Na kapag hindi naipasa,
Same pa rin siya, sir. Same budget.
so in my example, 20 billion ang budget ngayong 2022. In-increase ng mayor for 2023, ginawa niyang ni-request niya na maging 25 billion ang budget. Hindi na ipasa. So magkano ang magiging budget for 2023?
20 billion, sir.
Okay, so mag-ooperate ang CP on the budget preceding the fiscal year. So kinakailangan kasi every year magtataas ka rin kasi may projection ka na magkakaroon ng inflation, then yung iyong mga gastusin lumalaki at dumadami kasi yung population ng city ay nag-i-increase kasi mas marami ang ipinapanganak sa namamatay. So mas maraming ipoprovide ang city sa mga hospitals, sa mga health centers, in terms of education, magdadagdag ng budget for the classroom, uniform of the pupils or the students. So yun yung kaya kailangan, kung ikaw ang chief executive, you always increase the budget. Not to mention yung mga palitan ng ating piso, katulad ngayon, natatalo na ng dolyares ang piso. So, mas nagkakaroon tayo ng malaking computation sa inflation. Kasi tumataas lahat. Kakaroon ng domino effect. So, it is a very big gamble to the mayor or to the president if the annual budget will be the same. So kinakailangan may mga kaalyado ka sa city council or sa Congress. Otherwise, politika ng mga oppositionist, so maaring harangin yung mga plataforma, mga programa mo na ipinangako mo sa mga constituents. Okay, so yun yung pinapakita under that section that kailangan ma-approve yung budget sa susunod na taon At pag hindi siya na-approve as proposed, then mag-ooperate ka sa budget ng kasalukuyang taon. Okay? So you proceed.
So ano na po tayo, Section 26, first paragraph. Every bill passed by the Congress shall embrace only one subject which shall be expressed in the title thereof. Ang purpose nitong constitutional requirement na ito ay para maiwasan ang hodgepodge or log-rolling legislation upang maiwasan ang fraud sa legislatura at ma-inform ang mga tao through publications. Hindi sakop o kasama rito ang mga local ordinances dahil hindi ito kabahagi sa nature ng laws at ang codifications at revisions of statutes. Side note muna. Ano ang hodgepodge or log rolling? Ito ay it refers sa anumang legislation na may several subjects on unrelated matters na pinagsama-sama. Sa second paragraph naman, no bill passed by either house shall become a law unless it has passed 3 readings on separate days, and printed copies thereof in its final form have been distributed to its members 3 days before its passage, except when the President certifies to the necessity of its immediate enactment to meet a public calamity or emergency. Upon the last reading of a bill, no amendment thereto shall be allowed, and the vote thereon shall be taken immediately thereafter, and the yeas and nays entered in the journal. Upang maiwasan dito ang hasty at improvident legislation or at railroading of bills at upang pilitin ang maingat na pagsusuri ng inumangkahing batas. So, lang po.
Are you finished?
Wait lang, sir. Ano na po, sa section 27 na po. First paragraph, every bill passed by the Congress shall, before it becomes law, be presented to the President if he approves the same. Sign it, otherwise he shall veto it and return the same with these objections to the House where it originated, which shall enter the objections at large in its journal and proceed to reconsider it. Dito na papasok yun, a bill becomes law if signed by President or if not signed within 10 days and Congress is in session. Thus, if Congress adjourns before 10 days and the President has not signed the bill, then it does not become a law. Tinatawag itong pocket veto. So, bago ko mag-proceed sa second paragraph ng section 27, ano muna yung bill? Ang bill is a draft of the law submitted to the consideration of a legislative body for its adoption. And may nabanggit ako kanina na statute, at ang meaning nito ay statute is the written will of the legislature as an organized body expressed according to the form necessary to the constitute it into law. Then proceed na tayo sa second paragraph ng section 27. The President... Yes, sir.
May I intervene? Okay, suppose Congress passed a bill or a law and it has undergone legislative procedures as mandated by the Constitution, that under Section 26, no bill shall be passed without first, second, and third reading. Of course, there will always be a publication as a mandatory requirement in every approval of a bill who passed on the third reading. Suppose that the President did not sign it and will not implement it when the President has expressly manifested that even the bill passed by Congress or it was already passed by Congress, he will not sign it and he will not implement it. Is that valid ground to impeach the president? And what legal remedy should be done with the legislature to compel the president to implement the bill that they passed, considering that all the legal and procedural requirements was done by Congress? Anyone?
Sir, try lang po. Based
Okay.
on Article Section 27 po, yung nabanggit nyo, if the President did not sign the law to make the bill to make it law, even the President will not sign it po. After 30 days, after it has been proposed, it will eventually become a law. So if the President manifested or he's open na hindi niya sinusuportahan yung batas, it cannot be used as a ground to impeach the president.
Okay. So after 30 days, and the president has not acted on the bill, then by operation of law, the bill becomes a law, isn't it?
Yes po. A bill within 30 days from the receipt, yung natanggap niya na po sa office niya, it may become a law without the president's signature if yung Congress po has already overrides it overrides a presidential veto by 2/3 of the vote ng House ng Congress.
Okay. Suppose that Congress has overridden the veto power of the president, and still he does not implement the law. Can you charge the president? Or after 30 days, hindi siya umaksyon, then under the provision of what section is that? 26?
O 27 po.
Okay. So under section 27, so after 30 days, the president has not acted upon receipt of the bill, then it becomes automatically a law without affixing or without the signature of the president. Isn't it?
Yes po.
Okay. Or if the president under the powers of the president, presidential prerogative to veto a bill. But when the president vetoes the bill, he should write in writing why he is opposing the measure. He cannot use the veto power without writing the reasons why he vetoes it. Isn't it?
Yes po.
Okay. Usually, under the separation of powers, nakita nyo na ginawa ng Congress. And Congress, being the legislative body, makes the law, enacts the law, and it is required that it undergoes a very tedious process. How a bill becomes a law, from proposing and gathering data, you draft a bill, then you take down notes how a bill becomes a law. So the principal author or the proponent, as I have said earlier, will consult with his constituencies and find for himself what are the problems or what laws is appropriate to file to address such problems in the grassroots level.
Sir, sorry to intervene po.
Yes.
Yung process po on becoming a law, we will discuss din po after this section po. Pero go ahead po.
Yeah. Okay. So, when the author, and it is very important that the author will be knowledgeable on defending the bill or in a local level, the resolution or the ordinance, same steps or procedures will take place in Congress and in the city council or in the municipal council at the local level. There's no difference. Okay? Ang difference lang, in Congress, it was called a bill, but in the municipal or in the city council, on a local level, it is always a resolution or an ordinance. Okay? So what is the difference of an ordinance and a resolution? A resolution is an expression of the sentiments of the council or of the legislative body. I repeat, a resolution is a mere expression of the sentiments of the legislative body or the council, whereas an ordinance is permanent in nature. Usually, it has budgetary requirements, and it is very permanent. That unlike resolutions that you can have an approved resolutions commending a person, then after how many years you can withdraw the commendation, and declare the person persona non grata. But in an ordinance, you cannot do that because it is always permanent. Okay? Basically, that is the difference. So as I have said, when you propose a bill or an ordinance, so you have to gather data so that you can also draft your bill. Okay? Then it will be calendared for first reading. Okay? Then the Secretariat will refer the bill or the ordinance to the appropriate committee concerned. For example, your bill or your measure is entitled an ordinance creating Jose Abad Santos High School in Pandacan, Manila, and appropriating 1 billion pesos for such purpose. So that is the title of your bill. No bill shall be approved with different titles or embracing numerous topics. So in our example, one title and one topic only. That is the creation of a school building in the area of Pandacan and appropriating budgetary requirements in the amount of 1 billion pesos. No conflict at all. So you remember that. Hindi po pwede yung an ordinance creating Jose Abad Santos High School in Pandacan and establishing a Department of Secondary Education for the purpose of creating a personnel offices in the amount of 1 billion pesos and another amount for the building in the amount of 1 billion pesos. So there's so many complex topics. So that is not allowed. Okay? So you only talk of one specific topic, reference. Okay? So in our example, it is entitled An Ordinance Creating Jose Abad Santos High School in the area of Pandacan and appropriating the amount of 1 billion pesos for such purpose. It embraces only one topic. Okay? Then, after it is referred to the appropriate committees, the committee concerned will have to call for a public hearing or public consultation with all the stakeholders to be invited, all concerned agencies, speakers, speakers will be invited, and oppositors or the beneficiaries will likewise be invited for a confrontation during the committee hearing. In our example, it will be referred to the committees on education because it is principally for education purposes. So the Committee on Education will be the main or the lead committee. It requires a budgetary requirement, so the Committee on Appropriation will likewise will conduct the necessary and mandatory public consultation. And for any legal challenge or impediment, it will also be endorsed or referred to the Committee on Laws. So in our example, 3 committees has been referred to by our ordinance. Okay? So in the conduct of the committee hearings or committee or public consultation, the members of that committee should submit a favorable recommendation. All those three committees, if only two committees submitted favorable recommendation and one does not submit a favorable recommendation, the ordinance dies a natural death. It will not pass through the second reading. No, it was agenda for first reading, referred to the committee hearing, but in the committee level, it was killed because for lack of favorable committee report of all committees to which it was referred to. Okay? So lahat ng kung kaninong committee siya ni-refer, kailangan yung committee ay magkakaroon ng favorable or majority vote, majority or favorable recommendation. Usually the committee members are always 9 or odd numbers. 5, 7, 9, 11, depending on the numbers of the committee or of the members of the council. Okay? So kailangan, kung saan siya na-endorse na komite, kung 4 yan, kung 5 yan, yung 5 na yon, kailangan lahat yon favorable committee report ang isasubmit. Okay? So pagka hindi lahat nag-submit, alam ba, sa 5, 4 lang ang nag-submit, hindi siya makakalendar for second reading. Okay? It dies a natural death on the committee level. Okay? So yung proponent, kailangan magaling ka ring makisuyo, no? Or you exercise your diplomacy or your paano mo kumbinsihin yung mga members pa lang ng komite. Doon pa lang sa komite, hindi ka napapasa. What more in the plenary? No, wherein any member of the Senate or of the House of Representatives or of the City Council can inquire or ask profound questions regarding your sponsored bill or ordinance. Okay? So suppose all the committees to which it was referred to have submitted favorable recommendation, then it will be calendared for second reading. Kaya attach lahat ng favorable committee report. Kung ilan nga yun, kung isang committee lang, swerte mo, yun lang ang poproblemahin mo. Pero kung maraming in-endorse yan, so lahat yan i-attach, no? Kasi hindi naman yan kakalendar kung may isa lang dyan na hindi nag-submit ng favorable committee report. Okay? So lahat nag-submit ng favorable committee report, nakakalendar ka na for second reading. You will still lobby, no? Hindi porkit meron ng committee favorable committee report, ma-agenda yan, no? So ikaw yung principal author, kailangan magagaling din yung staff mo, makulit din yung principal author na matagal na yung nakasubmit na yung committee report niyan, favorable lahat at hindi pa na-agenda. So may lobbying din dyan, no? Hindi lahat na comply mo, no? Sa daming rin, no? You have to understand that depending on the numbers of the members of the Senate or of the House or of the Council na nag-submit din, no, ng mga favorable committee report. So kailangan din masipag, no, makukulit din yung mga staff para laging kinakatok yung secretariat para i-calendar na yan because there is no legal impediment to calendar it for second reading. Why until now it is not yet in the agenda? So ganun lang naman yun, no? Maglalabi ka rin. Suppose that it has now been calendared for second reading. So during the second reading, debate and interpellation will ensue. And any member, not only the members of the committee to which it was referred to, will participate in the debate, but all the members, any member can raise a question, profound and articulate the issues on the validity or regularity of the ordinance the principal author is sponsoring. Kaya yung ding principal author, be sure na ready ka. Pag naka-schedule na yung iyong bill for second reading, dapat hindi ka absent. Because if you are absent, you remember this one, if the principal author is not around or absent during the second reading, then the bill will not be tackled on the floor because the principal author is absent. Okay, that is the procedure. Okay. The period of amendments is also entertained during the second reading. So lahat na ng papalitan mo doon sa original na measure mo, so palitan mo na. No? Yung mga nakalimutan mo, nagkamali ka. Or may nag-propose na any member, no, if you are amenable to the amendments, the principal author will always be asked if he is amenable or favor or agreeable. No, if not, no, sasabihin ng principal author, I'm sorry, I believe that my original section is much better than the proposal. So, magkakaroon yan ng division of the house, magbobotohan. Okay? So, usually, para na lang walang, kung konting diferensya lang naman, ako, no, sa experience ko, hindi na kami magbobotohan, no? Doon pa lang kasi makikita mo na kung matatalo ka eh. So, para na lang walang 1 minute recess, as kakausapin ko na lang yung propose ng amendments. So, doon pumapasok talaga yung pagalingan dyan, no? Sa legislative function. Okay? So, after the amendments was introduced and accepted and approved, votation will take place after the period of amendments. Okay? Then, it will be calendared for third reading. In the third reading, the entirety of the ordinance or the bill is read, including the amendments made during the second reading. And in the third reading, no more interpellation and debate. The only act that will commence on the third reading is whether or not the members of the parliament or the city council, as the case may be, the only act to be done during the third reading is whether or not to vote in favor or against the measure. No more debate, no more interpellation, no more amendments. Only votation will take place on the third reading, whether to approve or disapprove the measure. If it is approved by the majority of all the members, then it will be published in a newspaper of general circulation. Okay? And it will be sent to the city mayor or to the president, as the case may be. And if the mayor or the president does not affix or sign his signature, then the mayor or the president vetoes the bill. And in the veto, it is also required under our constitution that the president or the city mayor shall write in writing why he is vetoing the measure. Then the Legislative Council or Congress can override the veto power of the president by a vote of 2/3 vote of all the members. Okay? Mahirap din ang veto power i-override because usually ang mga mayor maraming kaalyadong konsehal, ang presidente maraming kaalyadong mga congressman yan, mga kapartido sa Senado. So yung 2/3 vote, mahirap yon kunin. Di bale kung 1/2 + 1 or simple majority lang. But in the overriding of a veto bill, it is always 2/3 vote that is required. Okay? So that is how a bill becomes a law. So in my question, suppose that Congress has overridden the veto power of the president, then another provision says that after 30 days without action, then the bill becomes a law without the president's signature. Okay, there are two instances. Suppose the veto power of the president was overridden, then the bill becomes a law. And suppose the president still does not implement the law. Can you charge the president with a crime for not implementing the law when under the Constitution, the president should faithfully execute the law without fear or favor? And in fact, the law, ang sabi ko nga, ang hirap gumawa ng batas. O ba't hindi mo ipatutupad? Sinunod naman ng Kongreso or sinunod naman ng City Council, no? Kung mayor ang kalaban ng City Council. Ba't hindi mo patutupad yan? O in-override ka na nga namin. Ang hirap kunin ng 2/3 vote. Pero nakakuha kami. O, can you charge the mayor or the president for not implementing a valid law passed by Congress or by the legislature or by the City Council, as the case may be in the LGU? Anyone can answer? Anyone? Okay, so you reserve your answers, no, because that is one of my example, no, in your finals exam. So I'll just have to, alam niyo yun, syempre dilituhin ko lang kayo, but there's always a valid answer for my question, no? So you prepare for some sort, no, of questions like that, no, in the finals. Up to what time are we supposed?
Hanggang 4:30, sir.
Any more reporters in the legislative department?
Isa na lang po, sir.
Okay, so may klase ba kayo after 4:30?
Meron po, STS, sir.
Okay, so we continue Yes, and who is the next the group to report?
Judicial po. Group C po, sir.
Okay,
Kami
you,
po.
after the last reporter of the legislative department, we only have one. Then the judicial department will follow immediately. If the judicial department or the group will finish earlier, then what group is supposed to follow the judicial department?
Bill of Rights po, sir.
Bill of Rights. Is there any more groups that I have not assigned a topic?
Wala na, sir. Nag-assign ka na po dun sa natitira pa pong dalawang group.
Okay, so the two groups should always be prepared, no? Pag natapos ng maaga yung susunod na kayo. So wala tayong pahinga, no, for the group report. So you always be prepared for your presentation. Okay?
Noted, sir. Sir, question po sana.
Yes.
This next meeting po kasi natin sa schedule po is this Saturday po. And nag-announce po si President Marcos po ng holiday po this coming Saturday. Idil
Bakit?
Adha po. Idil Adha po.
Ay, sa Muslim.
Opo.
Ay, nasa sa inyo kung gusto nyo magtuloy tayong magklase. Kasi may announcement na, so we have to follow. But if you insist, because late naman tayo, okay lang ako. Para yung mga nakaraan na wala tayong klase. It depends on your classmates. You ask them, you inform me, no, we can make a makeup class on Saturday if you want. No? You inform me of the decision of the class.
Noted, sir.
Okay. No more? May klase rin kasi ako kasunod nyo.
Okay, sir. Thank you po.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Keep safe.
sir.